Hey guys, this video is going to go over lesson 2.3. I actually have a notebook piece of paper labeled exactly how I want your assignment to be labeled. At the top you need to pause the video and write, I can identify and draw reflections. And then in the corner of your paper you need to be writing your name. Don't write Miss Hoover because that's not your name. Page number 58, and then you need to write the words modified by Hoover. And you need to write numbers 7, 9, 11, 15, 19, and 21. Those are going to be the numbers that you're assigned that you're responsible to get finished. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead, pause the video, make sure your header of your notebook piece of paper is labeled just like that. And when you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and start 7. So 7 is going to look like this in the book. I do have some writing around it, but I just want to kind of talk through it a little bit. It's going to ask us, tell whether the blue figure is a reflection of the red figure. So remember, reflections are going to be the ones that look like we're looking in a mirror, okay? So we have, let me move this over just a tad. It's a little shiny. Okay, we have some examples. So like for number 6, this would be an example of a reflection, okay? It's kind of just reflecting, kind of flopping over the same way. 8 would also be an example of a reflection, okay? So number 7, we see that we have a square, and then afterwards we have kind of a diamond shaped. So thinking out loud, I'm going to say definitely not, because it's not looking like number 8. It doesn't flop over and look the same. It actually rotates. So for 7, we know that it's not going to be a reflection because it rotates. So what we need to write for that one is no, because it rotates. Okay? On to number 9. We're going to have another kind of silly thing to look at. So notice how all of these, so pretend like these are y and x axes, okay? That's usually where we see reflections. Notice how every single problem has some straight line. Then we get to number 9, and I'm going to tell you this is not a reflection. The reason is reflections cannot take place over a diagonal line, okay? So if you have a diagonal line, a reflection can't take place. It needs to be a straight line like this or a straight line like this, okay? So we're going to definitely say no, because we have a diagonal. If I can spell diagonal, hold on. Okay, so 7 and 9 you need to say no, and then explain why. So if you went a little too quick or you didn't quite get that, raise your hand or rewind or pause or go back. Okay? I'm going to go on to number 11. So I'm going to be using some note cards here just for the sake of time. So 11 is going to give you some numbers that look like this. Let me move it over. Okay. So I have 11. So you need to make sure you write this down. So pause the video, write these down right away. So your 11 can go right here. So whatever's on my note card, you're writing down on your notebook piece of paper. Okay. And number 11, just because I can't zoom in on my book at the same time, it's going to say, draw the figure and its reflection in the x-axis, okay? So once you write this down, you're going to take your graph paper and we're going to actually graph it, okay? So I'm going to use my graph paper here. Hopefully everyone can see that. And I'm going to graph. So I'm going to do, remember this is y, or my x-axis and then y. So I'm going to find my -2, go up 1, and I'm going to label it m. Okay? Then I'm going to do my 0, 3, label it n, and my p, which is 2, 2, and label that p. Then I'm going to connect the dots here, and I should get a nice triangle that looks like this. So pause the video if I went a little too fast. Make sure you plot that those original points before you move on. Okay? The next thing you're going to do is we're going to try to find the reflection in X. So what I did was I took this straight from your notes. So if you have your notes, if we have a reflection in the y-axis, or in the x-axis, sorry, we're going to take our original coordinates and we're going to make them look like this. So we're going to leave the x the same and change the y. So I'm going to show you how that looks. So for M, if I'm going to leave my x the same, I'm going to have a -2. And if I'm going to change my y, I'm going to change it from a +1 to a -1. Just that simple. Same thing for N. I'm going to leave my x alone. So it's just going to be 0. And I'm going to do the opposite of whatever's there. So I have a -3. P, I'm going to leave my 2 alone because it's in the x spot. And then I'm going to do the opposite for y, which would be a -2. Now I got my second set of coordinates that I need to plot, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do my reflection, so it should just be reflecting over the x-axis. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to see if I got it right here. So I'm going to start with my x-axis, so I have a -2, -1, and I'm going to label that M. Then I'm going to go 0, -3, label that N. Then I'm going to go 2, -2, and label that P. Should just look like we're looking in a mirror. We have the same thing, but it's just, our mirror is just like this x-axis, okay? And that's exactly how you do those. So we're going to try another example for number 11. If I went too quick or you didn't quite get the graphing, rewind, pause, do what you need to do. Okay, so this one's going to be number 15. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have a note card, but remember what I wrote on the note card you need to have in your notebook piece of paper, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and graph my first part. So this is my original triangle, so I'm going to do 4, -2, that's going to be T. I'm going to do 4, +2, and that's going to be U. And I'm going to do 6, -2, and that's going to be V. So I still get a triangle, just a little bit over here, okay? And that's how your first triangle should look. Now, our directions in the book say that we're going to draw a figure and its reflection in the y-axis. So instead of having our mirror as our x-axis, we're going to have it as the y-axis, okay? So looking at our notes, it tells us that if we're trying to find a reflection in the y-axis, we need to take our coordinates and we need to change the x value, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So if I'm going to change the x's, they're all going to be right here. So if I have a 4, I'm going to change that to a -4. And then I leave my -2 the same because that's our y. And you leave that one alone. Same thing for this one. -4, and then I'm going to leave my 2 alone. And then I'm going to change this to -6 and leave my -2 alone. Now I want you to see if you can graph that and see if the reflection goes on your y-axis. So see if you can pause it, see if yours matches mine here. So I'm going to do a -4, -2, which is T, okay. Then I'm going to do a -4, +2, which is U. And then I have a -6, -2, which would be right here, which is my V. So this shape just looked straight into the mirror. Your mirror is just now that y-axis, okay? So we got 11 done, we got 15 done. We're going to move on to 19 and 21. And 19 and 21 are going to look a little bit different. It's going to be on the next page, And I'm just going to show it via note card because that's just easier to see. So remember, whatever I have on my note card, you're writing down. So all it's saying is the reflection in X or Y? So all we have to do is really think to ourselves, what is really changing here? So I'm going to pull back those rules here. And it's just what we worked on. So I'm going to put this right above our rules here. And we're going to figure out if the reflection is in the x-axis or the reflection's in the y-axis. So I'm going to look, what is changing here? So I have a 2, 2, so I know the x didn't change. And then I see I go from a -2 to a +2. So I know that the y is changing. So that way I know that it's a reflection in the x-axis because my y changes. So all I'm going to put for those is I know it's a reflection in x-axis. And that's because that y coordinate changed. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for 21. Again, write this down for number 21. But I have a -2, -5 as my coordinate. And then I come over here and I see what changed. So we have a 2 and a -5. So my -5s are the same. So I know that my 2 changed. It did the opposite. So looking down here, it says a reflection in the y-axis means that our x